that means we are now ready for your questions. We will just switch from PowerPoint to the Slido platform, so just stay with us. It won't take too long. And normally, you will see the questions being asked and we get ready to answer them.
Yeah, and we will take them one by one so that we all know what we are talking about. And the first question is the following. I'm currently writing a project report as lead partner. Will I be able to submit the report without including any input from the indicator reporting module? The answer is the indicator reporting module is very fresh, I would say, so not all partners have used it. Hence, it is okay to submit your report without information about the indicators, but if your partners have used it, you will be able to see the overview, and hence you will have to include the reported information into the project level activity report. That would be my take on it.
Yeah.
What is it you can add?
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. And I think what is important here is that we need to know, what's happening, what is your progress. So we will always tell you to provide as much information as you can. So now that the indicator reporting module is open, then we assume that you may have some information to share, even if the progress is, let's say, a bit light. It's still important for us to know, okay, did you started working on your output? So even if it's not so much, it's very important for us to read a bit about your progress on that.
And even if your partners haven't put in something, then maybe you have the overview or the information from the partners so that you can provide some information. And it's always on the project advisor, on your project advisor, to then look at the submitted report. And it might be the case that your project advisor will get back to you saying, well, you have already implemented your project for 1.5 years. I would like to see a little bit of information about the pilot you're working on, or these kind of things. So in the end, I would refer you also to your project advisor to talk to him or her and find out how you proceed with this report and then also with future reports.
Exactly. Is it okay that the lead partner takes over the reporting on outputs for all, or are all project partners obliged to enter information in the indicator module? As this is a very good question, and it's actually a matter of how are the tasks distributed within your partnership. It's not that there is an obligation for all partners to use the indicator reporting module, but there is the obligation that you report on your progress on them. So you can decide that all partners, they actually use this indicator reporting module, and you as lead partner, you go over them and you adjust what needs to be adjusted and so on. It can also be the case that you prefer that your partners tells you outside of the system what is the progress, so that you're the one who will enter this information in the indicator reporting module. So it's really it really depends on what is the best working for you, and if you prefer to work fully in the system or to have part of the work being done outside the system. So the choice is yours somehow.
Exactly. But as we mentioned in the beginning, the system is set up in a way that all partners can use the indicator reporting module. And this, of course, gives you the possibility to get most or as much information as possible from your partnership via the system.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the rationale behind this indicator reporting module was that it is not linked to, it doesn't need a reporting run to be open. So, you can always describe a progress regularly. So you don't need to specifically set deadlines or like, okay, now I need to provide like information on this progress. You can do it at a different pace, which also depends on the partners.
And we have the next question, and the moment indicator entries are included in a report. Will these entries be erased in the indicator module, or will they remain visible in the module? At the point when you decide to update the project level activity report, about outputs and results from the indicator reporting module. The information will be taken from the indicator reporting module into the activity report, but they will not be deleted from the indicator reporting module. They will just get the label that they are now included in, for example, report number 1, report number 2, these kind of things. That will give you the possibility as lead partner to always have one big overview if you want to. And then you can also sort by certain information, names, these kind of things. And you will always be able to see who has put in a certain entry, like which partner has contributed with which indicator. Yeah,
exactly. And this is actually the slide that you presented with the 2 arrows when we had not submitted yet, and report 1, for instance. So you can see the overview. So the one being transferred in report 1 were still available in the overview.
Exactly.
Our pilot is very much on constructing a demonstrator. The construction itself takes place end of reporting 2. Do we need to report anything in report 1 or just enter NA? It is quite understandable that, it's about constructing a demonstrator, as you said. And this is why here we had this not achieved and achieved status. So when it will take place, end of reporting 2, then maybe at that time your pilot is achieved. So you will be able to use this status. However, before you reach this level of achievement of your pilot, there is maybe some progress that is important to share with us. This is why you can report on it by choosing not achieved in the status, but still being able to provide information on that. And as I said maybe a bit earlier, we really like to read about what you're doing and your progress, because it also gives us an idea of where you stand. So it's always a good idea to actually write a little bit on your progress instead of just writing non-applicable, because it also can be the case that we will ask you, okay, why is this not applicable here? So we assume there's always a little bit of progress that you can share with us.
Yeah, and just to bring it even a little bit further, I mean, the whole point of your reporting in general, but also reporting on indicators, is for the Joint Secretariat to see your progress, and hence also see if you are more or less in line with what you have put into your application form, and hence if also the finances are okay. So it's a matter for us to monitor your project from the Joint Secretariat side. So that's why it's important that we see progress on indicators and in general your project implementation. Then we have the question, what if a pilot does not have a place? Do we put in the postal code of the partner? That is, again, a very good question. If there is no place, I'm wondering a little bit about that, because it might be something digital, maybe. What is our suggestion?
I think there is 2 ways maybe that I'm thinking right now. First of all, is to always go back to your approved application. So if you provided a location at that time, let's say just a country, or saying if it's an online, it will be developed by this partner and so on, then there is still somehow, even if it's not something tangible that we can see, it can be linked to, let's say, for example, your idea with the postal code of the partner. So first of all, look at your approved application if something is being indicated there. And if not, then let's say if it's a digital solution, then it's a matter of, okay, by who is it being, developed? And then as an option, it could be to give the postal code of the partner responsible for that. And yeah, of course, to mention that, to explain it, why you have decided to put this location for this pilot.
Yeah. Very good answer, I think. And then also, again, if you have these exceptional cases, and we know they are out there, the whole system is made for regular pilots, regular strategies, action plans, but projects are all different and there might be exceptions. So if you have an exception like this question, please reach out to your project advisor, and you will then together with him or her find a solution. And yeah, that's the way forward, I guess.
Capacity indicator. If, for example, an architect has taken part in a one-day seminar, will he count as an organization, or will only his office count as an organization? Here we're talking about organization with increased capacity. not,
Sorry, I didn't want to correct you, but with institutional
yeah,
increased capacity.
exactly.
And there we go.
And not person. So we are monitoring the organization, not the person. So here in that case, that would be the organization. And of course, within this organization is the architect. And maybe thanks to that, he developed new skills, but it's still this architect within the framework of the organization. So yeah, this is why we are asking for the VAT number and all of that. This is not something you can just link to a person. So always stick to the organization.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing to add. I have already added mine. Can we translate the survey if the organization does not speak English? And that's a very good question, and we have a very clear answer. Yes. I think it even states that in the annex, to be honest, that it can be translated. So please also go back to the annex that Marie has referred to, but yes, you can for sure.
What if you organize a one-day event where you sufficiently inform the participating organizations, but they would not take part in a second exchange moment? Well, here is also an assessment of to which extent this participation in a one-day event can actually make this organization increase its institutional capacity. So it's of course a matter of getting in touch with those organizations and for them to assess it is because I have participated in this event that we actually, use new tools. And that was not the case before we participated in that, or because we develop new skills and so on. So they also are the best one to indicate to which extent they have increased their capacity. If it's just only being informative and they get inspiration, or if actually this participation led to a change in what was done or used before. So it's very important here this is why we are having this survey, and it's why it's important that it's actually that organization that take the time to answer it, so that if this is relevant or not, like if this requires to be reported in the online monitoring system. So the best is just to still provide the survey to those organizations and then to see based on the answer if they assess what type of increased capacity they have.
We have to, however, again, refer you back to the definition where it says it's defined as more than one instance of exchange. Of course, the kind of exchange, it can also be by email afterwards. It's as Marie said, stick to the definition that we have in the fact sheet, but in the end, it's your, or even better said, the organization's evaluation, if they really have changed something, applied new tools, these kind of things as an institution. And then of course it is possible. It's up to you, to them to evaluate. We have not been part of your one-day event, for example. We don't know what exactly has happened. So that's why it's your responsibility to follow the rules that we have, the definitions, and look into the individual cases.
Mm-hmm.
Again, organizational capacity. Could you give examples of use of new knowledge or skills, adoption of new tools, new procedures or workflows, organizational structure? So basically all of them except for other. And we have talked a lot about this.
Yeah.
You had some very good examples. May I ask you to repeat them?
Yeah, but there are tons of examples, of course, but let's say you're working, your project is focusing on circular economy, and then the core of your project is maybe to help, I don't know, organizations to join this journey of being a bit more circular, and then that means that they need to make some changes and so on. If, for example, you have this organization that before had this wish to be more circular, but didn't know how to do it. And then thanks to your project, because of participation, getting informed about, okay, this is this type of tools I can use, maybe an online tool to help me, or a new procedure, maybe because if I want to be a bit more circular, there's a need to change a little bit the organizational structure of the company. Then that would be an example here. So from an organization that was not circular before, that to an organization that managed to be a bit more circular by applying new procedures that maybe you've presented as part of your project, or by using this new tool that you developed within your project. That is an example of increased capacity, because there's a difference between, there's a before and after. That's what we are looking at here.
Yeah.
That could be this example, for instance.
Yeah, and you also mentioned, for example, as organizational structure, there can be many things, but as you said just now, being more circular, maybe you need to hire a new employee that is focusing on special aspects of that. Then this would be an example of organizational change. We also had an example about hydrogen and applying, what was that, where we said, if you want to focus more on hydrogen aspects, but then of course you don't know how to charge certain vehicles, then you have to apply new tools in that institution.
Or you need to increase your knowledge because maybe you're not fully aware of what to do to reach this level, and then you actually acquire this new knowledge thanks to the project. So this is what we're talking about here. Yeah. Yeah, for instance, I always think about procurement because I had this example from a project in 5B actually. It was making procurement more circular. So then in the procurement aspect, they added new things, regarding circularity, and that came from, discussion with the project and knowing what to do and how to include this type of aspect of circularity in procurement. That could be something new, maybe the organization didn't do that before and now is doing it, and is doing it thanks to active participation in the project.
And it's a little bit vague, I have to admit that, but that's why it's up to you to look into your individual situation and evaluate. But I just want to mention again that by only listening to a presentation of your project or participating in a one-day event, it's not so likely that these bigger changes will happen. So that's why please look into the details. And again, I would like to refer you back to the definition of active participation more than once, these kind of things. We also, report on target groups, where we report on capacity building for partners and externals too. How is this different to indicator reporting on capacity building? Target groups, you are entirely correct. They are listed in your application form and they are listed in the report because you report against your application form. I think the difference is in line with what we've said already. You can involve target groups, you can approach target groups, but that does not mean that they necessarily will change their institutional capacity. That would be my take on it. So referring back to what we've said already, that it really requires a lot to reach the point of changing the institutional capacity.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think it's exactly here what we've talked about between, let's say, being invited to an event or listening to a conference you will do or so on, and actively participate. So maybe in your target groups, some of them will be reached out because they are invited to an event. And this is completely fine. And this is very valuable. And then there's this difference with increased capacity, and also because it's more specific. We need the name of those organizations here. With target groups, it's a bit broader. You don't need to be as specific. So I think this question is actually the perfect example of what we try to explain between I'm participating in an event when I'm listening to a presentation and I learn a little bit from something, or I'm actually participating and this leads to a change in the organization. That's a very good, I think this question is really reflecting those two differences.
But if you have a target group where you can see, like a target group, a specific organization within that target group that is increasing the institutional capacity, then you of course report them in the indicator reporting module and you report them in figures. So we have one organization that has increased the institutional capacity, whereas in the section about target groups, you only report on, let me say progress, but you only report in writing. You don't report in figures as such, but yeah. So you can report them in both sections, but always keep in mind the one on capacity building will then trigger the actual counting.
Yeah, so this way they can overlap. Actually.
Yes. Right. Good.
Is there any place to add proofs like documents, sheets that support our declaration of outputs and results? Yes, there is indeed. So for the strategies and action plan, we have this little icon called evidence, and then you can upload your final outputs like on strategies and action plans. Then, for instance, if it's regarding a pilot, we also have those text box. So if, let's say, the proof is linked to an external link, that you can, indicate that. So there is places to put that, either direct upload or like to provide a link in the text box.
Yeah, and another option is then also, of course, that you use your website on a regular basis, where you also report on progress you're making, for example, on a certain pilot. And if you have a news entry on that website where you report on the progress of a certain pilot, then you can, of course, just put the link into the text box you have mentioned in the indicator reporting module. And another way is always to use the document center in the online monitoring system. But I would like to refer you to the project advisor again, because it's a matter of what is it that should be in the document center and what should not be in the document center. So please reach out to your project advisors when you are about to report.
Good. Nothing to add.
We have, can we find additional information on double counting? Can we find additional, you are asking if you can find additional information about avoiding to double count certain things in the fact sheet, I guess, or somewhere in our guidances. No, right?
I think the departure point is like double counting cannot be made because you cannot report more than once on an organization.
Yeah.
So this is why it's the timing of reporting on an organization with increased capacity is relevant here. So I would say it doesn't hurt to wait a little bit, maybe to don't directly report as soon as you have the survey back, especially if you send them after a year and a half of implementation, because you can still remain in touch with those organizations. And the good news is that they could maybe improve other types of capacity. So just to wait a little bit so that you will have the possibility to exactly indicate the type of increased capacity. But no matter what, if you just add the same organization, the same VAT number, and so on, you won't be able to save that new entry.
Good, nothing to add.
Is it my turn?
I don't know.
I can go.
Try.
It is still unclear to me how indicator reporting is independent of progress reporting, but somehow fits into the progress reports. Very good question. And of course, it's because we are working on two levels here. And I think it is just coming back at what Jamie explained with this screenshot where you could see this overview of different outputs, and some of them with report 1 and some of them with not submitted yet. Let's say, you're working now on your reporting module and you start feeding information regarding some outputs indicators. Those one, the lead partner will receive them and we need to review them. Automatically, once your reporting run will be open and then ready for submission, it will be transferred automatically. So it's not like, there is a decision to say, oh, I'm including that in this report. It's being done automatically. This is why it's important to don't start, many entries just, to figure out, okay, is this a test? And I'm just writing different things, because this transfer will happen. Of course, if some of entries are not relevant, then the lead partner will be able to delete them. So it's because this transfer is being done automatically as soon as the reporting round is open. And as time of submission, then it will be having the status of included in the relevant report. So this is where it's being done. There's this link with it.
Yeah, and to maybe put a different angle on it, independent of progress reporting, meaning everyone can report on indicators at all times, whereas it is connected, as you're saying, it will feed into the progress report, whatever is put into the indicator reporting module. But you can, or partners or sub-partners can put in entries all the time, even though a report is not open. And only if a report is open, you can report on all other aspects. That's why we are saying it's independent of progress reports, because you can put in aspects, report on outputs, results at any time related to the reporting period or related to the time you are in. Of course, you cannot report on anything that is in the future. Yes, you can report on something that has happened in the past, but it is related to more or less the reporting period, but still you can work on it at any time. I hope that made it a little bit clearer. Do we manage one more question?
Maybe.
Maybe. Let's see what we have in store.
Or maybe we're at the end.
Let's see. No, we are not at the end. We can see from our assistant here. Let's see. This will be the last one. In case we already reached certain targets, do we need to keep recording on them, even though we would overachieve? We are now talking, I guess, about targets of outputs and results. If you think you have completed a certain pilot or completed a certain strategy action plan, you put it in as achieved. Because then you have done everything you could in order to achieve that pilot, that strategy action plan. And hence you do not report on it again, because it has been counted as one pilot or one strategy action plan when you click on achieved. So that will then avoid that you are overachieving. Was that clear?
Yeah. Yeah, no matter what, there is not a third stage, you said, like overachieved. But we can see that, for instance, from the target you will choose, because the target will be written, and then you will need to include the final achievement on your target. So if you say you have 5 as target and you achieve 10, the status will still be achieved, but we will see it obviously that you are on top, you are over your initial targets.
Yeah. So every time you put achieved, it will count 1. And then you can per se overachieve. So let's say in your application you had 5 pilots, but during the implementation of your project, you find out you will have 6 in total. Then you, of course, report on yet another pilot and hence will overachieve, because then you have in total 6 by having 6 times put in achieved. I hope that was clear. Otherwise, please reach out to your project advisors and we will see how many questions we have left in Slido and then also find a way how we can answer them. Yes, but we just heard there's one more that we are supposed to answer. So this will be the final one then.
How can we prove the change? What evidence we have to deliver?
How can we prove the change? I guess the change that is related to changing outputs and results from the decision letter. Is that what it's referring to?
Yeah, that could be that. But in that case, if it's this change, of course, this is something that you need to submit in the OMS and needs to be approved and applied by the Secretariat. So that would be this first way. Then if you talk about a change in institutional capacity, that could be that.
Yeah.
Then a very good question. We are only asking the type of increased capacity and the elements like that presented in the screenshot, so name of the organization, so on. You're more than welcome to really say, if you want to explain in your report, okay, by this organization, for instance, use this new tool and this is this new tool. But in the indicator reporting module, it is not requested to provide an evidence of this type of increased capacity. But we assume that, of course, it is based on something that is true and that the organization that you send the survey to will fill it in properly. Yeah. It's a trust exercise, let's say.
On that very positive note, I think we have reached the end of this webinar.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for all of you that participated today. The recording will be put online, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you have any questions, I think we said it many times in the last hour, just get in touch with your project advisor if something isn't clear. Great,
Good.
but have a great day. And yeah, I think this is the last one of the webinar recording.
Yeah, thanks for attending and have a good day. Bye-bye.